3 St. Louis cops eat their own and will hopefully face justice for it. Don't hold your breath, though. What's in the news were stories on cryptocurrency to pay your taxes, police abuse, legal kidnapping ×2, government idiocy, and government murdering children. Plus, an Ask Me Anything segment where I answer questions on a write-in campaign for me for office, my diet, what does it mean when I say keep striking the root, and voting on referendums. This episode is brought to you by ZenCash, now known as Horizen, a cryptocurrency that infuses privacy, anonymity, and security done right. Also brought to you by SmartCash, an easy-to-use, fast, and secure cryptocurrency that supports everyday use for everyday transactions.
Welcome to The Lava Flow, channeling the flow of information to the libertarian, anarcho-capitalist, voluntarist, and agorist community. Find us at thelavaflow.com. Here's your host, Roger Paxton.
Thank you for joining me this week. From the state that has the distinction of having the most pizzerias per capita of any state in the country, with 3.9 pizzerias per 1,000 people, this is the show that will bring you the people, places, and events that everyone in the Liberty Rebellion needs to know. You can catch me on Twitter at TheLavaFlowPod. This is episode number 114, Bad Boys. And it's Tuesday, December 4th, 2018, when there have already been more than 899 people killed by police this year, and the United States debt clock shows us at more than $21,801,900,000,000 in debt. What's rustling my jimmies this week? You're about to find out. Let's do it to it. First, a quick update on a story that we covered on this show quite extensively. Former Dallas police officer Amber Guyger, who shot and killed Botham Jean in his own apartment after she mistook his apartment for hers, has been indicted by a grand jury for manslaughter. Police said Geiger had just finished her 15-hour shift and got off the elevator on the 4th floor instead of the 3rd floor where she lived. She then opened the door to Jean's apartment, which was unlocked. The lights were off inside, and when she saw a man's figure, she thought her apartment was being robbed, and she opened fire. When she turned on the lights, she realized she went into the wrong apartment and killed a man in his own home, police said. The Dallas Police Department fired Geiger September 24th after facing tons of criticism for keeping her on the force amid the investigation. She was released from jail on a $300,000 bond. Jean's family also filed a lawsuit against the city of Dallas and the DPD, saying Geiger had a history of violence and excessive force. Guys, this is great news to be sure, and I'm very happy to see this. Until our rulers are held accountable to the same accountability that we have, the ruled, then we can never be free. And in a disturbing case of cops eating their own, 3 St. Louis police officers have been indicted on federal charges and suspended without pay for beating the shit out of one of their own undercover officers. Dustin Boone, Bailey Coletta, and Randy Hayes and Christopher Myers were all indicted in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Missouri. Charges include suspicion of lying to the FBI and the use of excessive force related to the assault of the undercover St. Louis police officer during a 2017 protest following the Jason Stockley court ruling. The victim, a 22-year veteran of St. Louis Metropolitan Police, was working during the protests, but was doing so in an undercover capacity to record and document criminal activity so other officers could lawfully arrest individuals who were committing crimes. Now, Count 1 of this indictment specifically alleges that Boone, Hayes, and Myers violated the undercover officer's constitutional rights when they used unreasonable force on him. Their actions resulted in bodily injury and included the use of a dangerous weapon. It also alleges they threw the undercover officer to the ground and kicked him while he was compliant and not posing a physical threat to anyone. Count 2 charges Boone, Hayes, and Myers with conspiracy to obstruct justice for conspiring and agreeing to engage in misleading conduct towards witnesses to prevent information about their criminal conduct from reaching federal authorities. Count 3 of the indictment also charges Myers with the destruction of evidence of knowingly destroying and mutilating the undercover officer's cell phone with an intent to impede, obstruct, and influence the investigation into the arrest and assault of him. The 4th charge charges Coletta with corruptly attempting to obstruct, influence, and impede federal grand jury proceedings by engaging in a series of misleading assertions and false statements when she testified before the grand jury. Count 1 of these carries a maximum penalty of 10 years in prison. Count 2s, 3, and 4 each carry maximum penalties of 20 years in prison. All 4 counts carry a maximum fine of $250,000. Put these abusing asshats in jail for sure. They are a menace to society, and they will be so with or without a fucking badge. St. Louis Police Public Safety Director Jimmy Edwards said, "The St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department is filled with dedicated and professional public servants who do exceptional work, and I am proud of them. In a few instances, some officers have fallen short of the professionalism required to work in our police department. I take accountability and transparency very seriously. When a public safety employee acts outside the scope of their authority, it is imperative that they be held accountable to the fullest extent under the law. I believe Officers Boone, Coletta, Hayes, and Myers are outliers, and that the charges levied against them are isolated and not indicative of our police department." Oh my God, bullshit! All it takes is a cursory glance at the news today to see way too many cases of police abuse and murder to completely destroy this argument that these are isolated cases, especially in St. Louis County. This is a case of culture, and that culture has been brewing for decades. I remember a few years after I was out of high school, a very good friend of mine became a police officer for a while. I went to lunch with him and 4 other officers one day, and I was disgusted at their attitude. They would tell stories of the way they beat someone down and laugh, saying things like, "I abused his civil rights, and that's what he gets for not complying. And I kid you not, I served and protected his ass." Look, even in my neocon days, this really disgusted me. And remember, this was the late 1990s, so 2 decades ago. The interesting part of this is that all of these officers were also former military, and they had that same mentality in the policing of our streets, that us versus them mentality. That mentality that they were knights protecting society from the enemy. This has only become worse, as these 3 officers displayed in many of their comments that were released in the grand jury indictment. That indictment has quotes of many of the comments these 3 fuckers made during this incident, usually by text. Remember, these guys were on duty during a protest when they kicked the shit out of this fellow officer. All of these comments are in direct relation to them going to this protest to protect and serve. These 3 asshats were excited about the possibility of using illegal force against these protesters. There were a ton of comments in the indictment, but these are the most egregious in my opinion. And here are their comments. "Let's whoop some ass. It's going to get ignorant tonight, but it's going to be a lot of fun beating the hell out of these shitheads once the sun goes down and nobody can tell us apart. No stick or shield, just fuck people up when they don't act right. That's my dude today, haha. He's basically a thug that's on our side. It's he and I that just grab fuckers and toss them around. We really need these fuckers to start acting up so we can have some fun. What the fuck? Are you guys in South Patrol prepping anything for the war tonight? It's still a blast beating people that deserve it. I'm still enjoying each night. Did everyone see the protesters getting fucked up in the Galleria? That was awesome. Now look, this is disgusting, and the culture has not changed a bit, folks. It's only getting worse each year. These are not peace officers. These are warriors that are being unleashed on our streets to destroy the enemy, which is you and I. You know, the ironic thing about this is that the protests where all of this happened were protests by citizens against the acquittal of St. Louis officer Jason Stockley for the first-degree murder of a man in a case that the city of St. Louis had already paid out $900,000 in a wrongful death settlement. Clearly, the St. Louis PD and these officers did not learn anything from that. And they still haven't. Have you subscribed to The Lava Flow on iTunes or any mobile device yet? Then what's wrong with you? Go to thelavaflow.com/subscribe so you don't miss a minute of the show. And while you're subscribing, make sure to leave me a 5-star rating and review the show to help others find our podcast. thelavaflow.com/subscribe.
Are those dry, boring, run-of-the-mill political talk shows putting you to sleep on your commute or at work? Are you ready for some fun?
Look no further. Blast Off with Johnny Rocket is a Seattle-based podcast expressing viewpoints of free markets, voluntary exchange, badass music, wicked banner, and of course, drinking.
The Blast-Off doesn't shy from the truth, but always brings the party.
Let's rock and roll, Raylene.
Bring it on, Johnny.
You can check us out at thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Again, that's thelaunchpadmedia.com/blastoff.
Launchpad Media. Always launching ideas in your direction.
And now I'm crying over you.
What's in the news? The news you need to know from a libertarian perspective.
In cryptocurrency news, Ohio is the first state to accept Bitcoin for paying business taxes. Now, it's just for businesses right now, but hey, this is a start. Now look, you guys know how I feel about taxes. Unfortunately, the vast majority of us have to pay them or we go to jail or potentially get killed by the state. That's not a chance I'm willing to take right now when I have 2 children that rely on me to survive. Maybe when they're out of the house, but not now. So if you, like me, have to pay your taxes, let's do it in a way that shows a bit of protest against government money by paying our taxes with crypto when we can. As of this week, Ohio will be the first state to accept Bitcoin for paying tax bills. The Wall Street Journal notes this will be limited to business purposes only and isn't directly going into Ohio's coffers as crypto. An Atlanta firm, BitPay, converts the virtual cash to dollars first. However, it could still be much more convenient for shops that take Bitcoin and would rather not exchange the format just to cover their sales tax payments. You should eventually have the option of paying personal taxes with Bitcoin as well. Now, this could be a significant move. Coin Center Director Jerry Brito noted that this could help end the stigma around Bitcoin and show that it's useful for above-board purchases like taxes. New York and other states are already taking steps to greenlight cryptocurrency, but you could see others follow suit if Ohio's efforts pan out. In police abuse news, a Facebook video posted first a live leak has gone viral after it was posted on social media. The video shows a black middle school student being violently assaulted by 2 white school resource officers on what appears to be an unprovoked attack. The incident occurred at Brustley Middle School in Brustley, Louisiana on October 5, 2018. In the video, an unidentified 14-year-old student had entered the principal's office to call his grandmother. The student had been in a verbal altercation with an assistant principal. At least 3 women are in the office when Brustley police officer Anthony Kip Dupree confronts the student a few seconds later. There's no audio to hear what the school resource officer is saying, but the student turned to leave and is placed in a chokehold and slammed to the ground. The assault continues for several seconds as the office workers look on in shock. Then Brustley police officer Dan Cipriano entered the room and handcuffed the student, who was then body slammed onto a desk, after being handcuffed, remember. Afterward, the women are seen putting on latex clothes to clean up the area where the student was assaulted, likely to clean up blood, I imagine. Brustley Police Chief Jonathan LaFoe saw footage of the incident and asked for the Louisiana State Police to become involved. The state police then launched an excessive use of force investigation, which is still ongoing. Dupree and Cipriano were both placed on administrative leave after the incident, but then they quit the force in October of 2018. According to Kwame Asante, the child's attorney, the child lost his mother unexpectedly and has suffered from anxiety and depression for the past 8 years. His grandmother stated that her grandson is on medication at home and is regarded as a special needs student. Originally, police told the family that the student was the aggressor and that he tried to reach for Dupree's gun. However, the footage was leaked to the press and showed that the incident was completely unprovoked. What the actual fuck? Not only do these motherfuckers physically attack and kidnap a 14-year-old special needs kid, but then they fucking lie about the incident to cover up their clear abuse. God damn it. ZenCash has changed their name to Horizen to better represent their transition from a pure cryptocurrency to a pioneering platform that protects consumer data. They're focusing more on the wider vision of what ZenCash was all about. The new name, Horizen, reinforces that the project is forward-thinking and visionary and will broaden the horizons of what the community can accomplish in the world using the platform. Not only is it one of the best privacy-oriented cryptocurrencies with zero-knowledge technology built into it, but they also have private chat over their network. And soon, Horizen will include the ability to publish information and go anywhere on the web, all with complete privacy. They are working toward the day when anyone will be able to build privacy-based applications on the Horizen platform and generate income from them. This will allow Horizen to bring thousands of real-life services to the community. Services that provide freedom, utility, and privacy. The unique spelling of Horizen is a nod to their heritage and recognizes that they remain committed to the vision that their project was built upon. Their coin and ticker symbol remains Zen. So ZenCash is now Horizen, and Horizen is bringing privacy to life. You can learn more at horizen.global. That's HORIZEN.global. In legal kidnapping news, a Georgia woman, Dasha Fincher, is suing after the Georgia Bureau of Investigation found that the blue substance in her car that led to her spending 3 months in jail was not methamphetamine after all. It was cotton candy. The incident report said David Morris Jr. was riding with Fincher in the passenger seat on New Year's Eve 2016 when deputies Cody Maples and Alan Henderson pulled them over for a window tint violation. The lawsuit said the deputies told them the car's window tint didn't end up violating the law after they were pulled over after all. Of course it didn't. Laws like this are nothing more than a legal excuse for thugs and badges to pull you over and get access to your car, nothing more. When the deputies searched the car, they found a plastic bag filled with a blue crystal-like substance in the passenger side floorboard. The report described Fincher as shaking and very anxious when asked about the contents of the baggie, but she told them it was cotton candy. The lawsuit claims that police dashcam video shows Fincher and Morris were both calm during the encounter, not shaky and very anxious, as the cops said. The substance was tested using a NARC-2 roadside kit and came back positive for meth, so both Morris and Fincher were arrested. The test kits, according to the lawsuit, have a history of producing false positive results. The judge ordered her to be jailed on a $1 million bond, which the lawsuit said she couldn't afford, so she remained in jail for about 3 months while the GBI tested the substance. The GBI said the blue material contained no controlled substances, and she was released from jail. Now look, this woman was kidnapped and kept in jail for 3 months over some goddamned cotton candy, all because of this drug war. Fuck the drug war in the neck with a hypodermic needle. Another story of legal kidnapping follows a woman named Precious Jones. She was given a ticket for going 120 miles per hour in Missouri. She missed her court date in August of 2017 because she said it slipped her mind. And I've been there, I understand. Now, Jones straightened it out. She turned herself into the local police, paid the bond and her outstanding warrant, and called the court to set up a new court date. She took driver's ed classes and did community service. She hired a local attorney. He told her that if she agreed to pay a higher fine, the points on the speeding ticket wouldn't be assessed against her driver's license. Fast forward to May of this year, Jones pled guilty to the Class B misdemeanor of speeding at least 26 miles per hour over the speed limit. She did not expect what came next. Associate Circuit Court Judge Kelly Rose gave her a 6-month jail sentence and 2 years probation. The jail sentence would be suspended if Jones did 20 days shock time in jail on consecutive weekends. Now, because of the conviction, Jones's driver's license was suspended and would stay that way until she paid all her court fines and did her time. She asked the judge if she could do her weekends in jail in St. Louis, much closer to her home. The judge said no. So this summer, she begged for rides, and every Friday for 10 weeks was dropped off at the Lafayette County Jail. On one day in May, she was an hour late to jail. Jones had gotten a job working for the United Way in St. Louis. She works until 6 p.m., so making it to Lafayette County by 10 p.m. was no easy task. In June, on one of the days she was supposed to be in jail, her car broke down. Jones called the jail, which documented the call. The next day, she made it to Lafayette County. The jail kept her there for the full 2 days. So by July, Jones figured that she had paid her debt. She did all of her time, and she paid all of her fines, including a bill for her jail time. In September, she got a notice from Lafayette County in the mail. There was a warrant out for her arrest. Because she had been late to jail, even though she stayed and did her full time, prosecutor Kristen Hillbrenner was seeking to revoke her probation. The attorney in her case, James Worthington of Higginsville, withdrew, saying he wasn't retained to work on a probation violation case. So now, Jones has a warrant out for her arrest with a $2,500 bond attached to it, and she's facing a 6-month jail sentence. All of this for a fucking speeding ticket. And, of course, for not complying with her ruler's demands, which they made damn near impossible for her to comply with on purpose, just to get her in this perpetual cycle of the justice system. And remember, if she stops complying, they will send men with guns to get her. And if she refused to comply with those men with guns, they will kill her for a fucking speeding ticket. Keep telling yourselves you're not a slave. SmartCash is an easy-to-use, fast, and secure cryptocurrency that supports everyday use for everyday transactions. SmartCash is focused on getting the currency back into cryptocurrency, and their vision is to replace centralized fiat currencies in day-to-day life. Too many cryptos talk about being used as a currency, but they are all focused on something else and leave user experience for both merchant and customer by the wayside. SmartCash is focused on being used for business payments and POS through such features like their Instant Pay, which allows for trusted transactions in a second, powered and secured by their 20,000 user-run smart nodes. SmartCash also has a Smart Hive proposal system that is funded by the blockchain, where any user can put forth a project proposal to expand the community, ecosystem, or technology. Holding one smart equals one vote, so all users can participate in voting without having to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to run a full node. The people working on SmartCash are broken up into 6 different Smart Hive structuring teams with dedicated team members that are completely funded by the blockchain. There is no CEO, no foundation, no centralized leadership, and there is no need for outside investors to come in and compromise any deals. Check out SmartCash today at thelavaflow.com/smart to find out how they are putting the cash into SmartCash and the currency into cryptocurrency. I believe this is truly a ground floor opportunity to get in on a rising tide. Get a wallet and find an exchange to purchase SmartCash at thelavaflow.com/smart. In government idiocy news, a couple was forced to prove that New Mexico is a state while applying for a marriage license in the nation's capital. Gavin Clarkson, who lives in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and his then-fiancée visited the District of Columbia Court's Marriage Bureau on November 20th to apply for a marriage license. But once there, the couple encountered a small problem. The clerk wouldn't accept Clarkson's driver's license from New Mexico as proof of his identity. Rather, the clerk, who mistakenly believed Clarkson was a foreign citizen, said he would have to provide an international passport to get the marriage license. After Clarkson objected, the clerk went to check with a supervisor, who confirmed Clarkson would need a passport. Even the fucking supervisor had no clue. Clarkson posted on Facebook recently, "You know you are from flyover country when you are applying for a marriage license. Give them your New Mexico driver's license, and they come back and say, 'My supervisor says we cannot accept international driver's license. Do you have a New Mexico passport?'" Clarkson said the clerk finally went back to check a second time about whether she could accept a New Mexico driver's license as proof of identity. After that, the staff finally concluded that New Mexico was, in fact, a U.S. state, and accepted his driver's license along with the application. The D.C. court system acknowledged the staff error. Lee H. Gurowitz, Director of Media and Public Relations for D.C. Courts, said, "We understand that a clerk in our marriage bureau made a mistake regarding New Mexico's 106-year history as a state. We very much regret the error and the slight delay it caused a New Mexico resident in applying for a D.C. marriage license." Now my question is, what in the hell are they teaching in public schools in the District of Criminals that would allow something like this to happen? In government murdering children news, officials in Afghanistan's Helmand province and international media are reporting at least 30 civilians, including 16 children, were killed in the latest U.S. airstrike targeting Taliban militants. Provincial Governor Mohammad Yasin Khan said that Afghan troops called in airstrikes, with U.S. warplanes responding with attacks that killed both Taliban fighters and local civilians. A local resident told Reuters that foreign forces bombed the area and the bombs hit my brother's house. He said the victims included women and 16 children. Another local resident, Feda Mohammed, said more victims remained buried beneath the rubble of the compound. Look, U.S. airstrikes in Afghanistan have sharply increased in recent months, and this is part of a strategy meant to drive the Taliban into talks aimed at ending the longest war in U.S. history. A spike in civilian casualties has, of course, accompanied the surge. Last month, a United Nations report revealed that the number of Afghan civilians, mostly women and children, killed or injured by NATO and Afghan airstrikes has risen 39% in 2018. The UN report said 313 civilians had been killed and another 336 injured from January 1st through September 30th. More casualties than in all of 2017. The increase in Afghan casualties mirrors a similar rise in civilian casualties in most of the 7 countries under attack by the United States. While campaigning for president, Donald Trump said he would bomb the shit out of Islamic State militants and kill their families. His administration has fulfilled that promise, loosening rules of engagement meant to protect civilians and resulting in the deaths of thousands of Iraqi and most recently Syrian civilians from U.S.-led bombings. The U.S.-based journalistic monitor group Air Wars estimates at least 6,700 Syrian and Iraqi civilians have been killed by coalition bombardment since former President Barack Obama intervened in Syria's civil war in 2014. In the wider U.S.-led war against terrorism, death toll estimates range from conservative figures of around 500,000 to possibly more than 2 million civilian killed. Since the Islamist terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, the United States has attacked and killed innocent men, women, and children in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Libya, and Syria. And keep telling yourself they hate us because of our freedoms. In some personal news, there will be at least 1 week in December that you will not be getting a new episode of The Lava Flow from me. I'll be traveling to Arkansas and Tennessee for almost 2 weeks in December to spend some time with family for the holidays. So for sure, there will not be an episode on Tuesday, December 25th, I think probably for obvious reasons. I'm not certain if I'm going to be able to get you guys a new episode on January 1st, but I'm going to do my damnedest to make that happen. Exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode, or use Bitcoin. Get exclusive content, rewards, and help the Lava Flow become fiscally neutral while providing you more content. thelavaflow.com/support.
It's time to shake up your podcast feed, folks, by subscribing to Lions of Liberty, the only libertarian variety show out there. Spend Mondays with me, Mark Claire, as I feature in-depth interviews with great names in the libertarian community and fun roundtable discussions.
Electric Liberty Land with me, Brian McWilliams, every Wednesday, your weekly dose of comedy, culture, and liberty.
And Felony Fridays with me, John Odermatt, where I expose injustice in the broken criminal justice system.
Find us on iTunes, Stitcher, and at lionsofliberty.com.
This is Chris Spangle, and I am the host of We Are Libertarians, which you can find in iTunes, Google Play, or at wearelibertarians.com. We are a podcast that brings you all of the irreverence that modern politics deserves by examining current events from a libertarian perspective. So please, check us out at wearelibertarians.com.
Ask me anything. Roger will answer your questions about, well, anything. Do you have a question for Roger? Email ama@thelavaflow.com or add your question to the latest AMA thread in the Pax Libertas Productions Facebook group.
It's been a while since I've done an Ask Me Anything segment, so I figured it was a good time to do so. Now remember, if you have a question for me that you want answered here, you can ask it in any of the posts that I put in the Pax Libertas Productions fan Facebook group or by emailing ama@thelavaflow.com. If you're a patron, your questions are always moved to the top of the pile for me to answer, so you can ask your question either in the Patreon website or in the super secret Lava Flow supporters Facebook group. I've got a pretty large queue of questions, so I won't be able to get to all of them this week, but as always, I promise I will eventually get to your question in this segment. The first question is from a couple of months ago, and it comes from supporter of the Lava Flow and host of Lions of Liberty, Mark Claire. His question is, if a group of libertarians independently launched a write-in campaign for Roger Paxton for, say, U.S. Congress, and you won, would you serve in office? Well, Mark, I think you already know the answer. There's no way in hell. First of all, I could not consciously take the oath of office for any elected office. For example, since you mentioned U.S. Congress, the oath for that office is, I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I will take this obligation freely, without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter, so help me God. Let's not even first take into account the fact that I'm an atheist, but as a voluntarist, I could never take that oath because I cannot swear to support and defend any constitution, and I cannot swear to faithfully discharge the duties of an office that I do not believe should exist. But more importantly, I could not take the oath because I am an enemy of the state, the Constitution, and the federal government. It would be a bit disingenuous of me to swear an oath to defend the Constitution against myself. I honestly don't think any honest libertarian could take such an oath. Yes, I ran for Arkansas State House twice and had a pretty good showing. For a while, I held the record for highest vote percentage for any libertarian in the state with 26.26%. But even then, before I was a voluntarist, I struggled with how I would be able to take such an oath in the off chance that I was elected. Thank Spooner I was never elected. The next question comes from James K., another supporter of the show. He asks, are you still doing keto? I found out about it from the show and I'm currently down almost 40 pounds since April. Thanks for turning me on to a healthier lifestyle. First of all, James, awesome job on losing 40 pounds. That is just kick-ass. Now, I admit I've not been doing keto lately, and I've seen the results. I've gained back some of the 85 pounds that I lost. However, I won't be starting the diet back until January 1st or so because of all the craziness of the holidays coming and my nearly 2-week trip back down south in December. But rest assured, I will be going back on it because I saw amazing results with it. Another supporter, and a huge supporter at that, Ryan P., had a few questions for me. The first is, you sign off each episode with the words, keep striking the root. What does that mean? I love this question because it gives me a chance to explain that. The original quote comes from Henry David Thoreau, who said, there are 1,000 hacking at the branches of evil to one who is striking at the root. This quote has meant a lot to me for as long as I can remember because it is just so true. So many people want to attack the branches or the symptoms of evil and rarely go for the root of the evil. A perfect example of this is the many libertarians who want campaign finance reform and ostensibly want new laws to govern that. They want to stop people from being able to put money into politics. A couple of years ago at Liberty Forum, there was even a table there with libertarians who were spreading information on campaign finance reform. But money in politics is not the root of the evil. It's only a branch. It is a symptom of the problem. The root of that evil is the power that the politicians have. That power allows them to choose winners and losers and to sell that power to donors and the highest bidder. As long as that power exists, they will find a way to sell it. Instead of striking at the branch, we need to be striking at the root, and that is the power that the politicians have. And that's why I remind my listeners every week to keep striking the root. That will be the only way to stop evil from spreading and growing. Another question from Ryan is, your feelings on the morality and effectiveness of voting for political candidates are clear. However, I'm curious how you feel about voting for ballot referendums. For example, in California this November, voters will be presented with dozens of ballot referendums. In particular, one would implement statewide rent control, and another gives us the opportunity to repeal a gas tax and higher DMV fees that the state legislature passed a few years ago. Inspired by you, this will be the first election in my adult life that I will refuse to cast a single vote for any political candidate. However, I do plan to vote no or yes on several of the referendums. Am I still being a sucker? Great way to ask that. Well, first of all, thank you, Ryan, for not voting for rulers for your fellow citizens and yourself. And secondly, thank you for saying that I was an inspiration for that. I mean, God damn it feels good to know that my words are having an impact. But now, to your question. I'm much less harsh on people who vote in defense of their pocketbook or lives by voting for referendums that can actually have an impact on their lives. I get it. However, my issue with voting, the root of the problem, the root, so to speak, is that even with referendums, voting on those is giving the entire process of people deciding on our lives and our money legitimacy. It's turning our money and lives into a popularity contest. And more importantly, it is showing that we agree with the system of rulers and majority rule by participating in our own ruling. Alan P. Kuntz wrote an excellent essay on this titled Living Slavery and All That. It was published in the Voluntarist newsletter back in 1985, and I read that entire essay in Essential Libertarianism, episode 42. You can listen to the entire episode at essentiallibertarianism.com/42. However, to summarize it, the essay is a destruction of Murray Rothbard's slavery analogy. Now, as you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Rothbard, but he did get some things wrong, especially later in life when he became a bit of, well, yes, I'm going to say it, a bit of a statist by inserting himself into electoral politics. The slavery analogy is basically the idea that if slaves were given the right to vote on, say, who would be their foreman, wouldn't it be moral for them to vote for the lesser of two evils, for example, the foreman who might beat them a little less? However, to vote for a foreman, any foreman, is to take part in the process of other people's enslavement, because you're not just voting for your foreman, but the foreman for every slave. Also, the possibility certainly exists in the slavery analogy that not all the slaves may be in agreement as to which of the two foremen is the lesser of the two evils. Maybe the one who beats them a little bit more gives them a little bit more food, and that is the lesser of two evils to that person. More importantly, though, by making such a choice, the slaves are merely doing yet another thing that the master wants them to do. By refusing to vote, the slave is not doing what the master wants him or her to do. If most of the slaves refuse to vote, the master would have to choose the foreman for them. However, the master and the foreman would then be up against a group of people that has refused to barter his or her individual sovereignty for the lesser of the two evils the master had originally offered, let alone give it up for nothing. And so it would be for the state that failed to get barely any of its subjects to participate in the electoral process. In short, it delegitimizes the entire process and shows that the vote is only window dressing. If every person stopped voting tomorrow, the state would still exist, and they would choose their own rulers over us. This is the importance of not voting, to show the true nature of the entire process, that it is window dressing, it is force, and it is immoral. So Ryan, Mark, and James, thank you all three for the questions, and for those questions I haven't gotten to, remember, I will be getting to more, and I do have quite a few more questions in the queue, including additional questions from both Ryan and Mark. But please keep asking, and I promise that I'll keep adding them to the queue, and I'm going to answer every single question on this show eventually. Thank you for listening to the show this week. As always, I need to thank my favorite Premier Pro student, Jessica, for her help with the show. For the show notes to this episode, where I put links and other information that's been on the show, go to thelavaflow.com/114. I have a new/old supporter this week and an upgraded supporter this week. Chris Spangle of We Are Libertarians podcast came back as a $2.50 per episode patron through Patreon. Thank you so much, Chris. Glad to have you back, sir. And longtime supporter Andrew B. doubled his support from $1 per episode to $2 per episode. Andrew, thank you so much. So thanks to Chris, Andrew, and all of my awesome supporters, I am at $293.50 per episode, or 58.7% of the way towards my next goal of $500 per episode. Thank you for all your support, guys, really. And remember, when I hit this next goal, I'm going to be upping the content I bring you from half an hour per week to a full hour. I know you want more content from me, and I want to give it to you. So add your pledge today to help me bring you twice the lava flow that you're getting today. So exercise your free market muscles by going to thelavaflow.com/support and giving a per episode donation of as little as $1 an episode using Federal Reserve notes through Patreon or Bitcoin through Coinbase. I want to be able to bring you more content soon, so make sure to add your donation today to help make that happen. I have no new Apple Podcast reviews this week, but if you have a minute and you want to hear your review read right here on the show, please go to thelavaflow.com/Apple and leave me a rating and a review. All the cool kids are doing it. Thank you to everyone who's left me a rating and a review so far. You guys rock. To all of you who haven't, can you guys help me out and go leave a review for me? Go to thelavaflow.com/Apple to do that now. Until next time, keep striking the root.
Thank you for listening to The Lava Flow at thelavaflow.com. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe now at thelavaflow.com/subscribe. This has been a Pax Libertas Productions podcast.